Hello, family. It's Steffi. I am back. It is the day after Thanksgiving. It is November 29th, and I wanted to talk about something really important today with regard to experiencing singularity and experiencing oneness. If you've watched any of my content, you know that after the election, I felt compelled to come online and start to talk to all of you, my brothers and sisters, about what's coming, what's ending, what is beginning, and how we transition as light beings, as those who are bringing in the new energies, as opposed to swimming upstream and being a counter force and a counter energy to what is coming. And in sharing my own experiences and thoughts around oneness, there is something very specific that I have left out thus far. And, you know, these videos are shot on YouTube. They're anywhere from 6 to 15 minutes long. I'm not getting into any deep philosophical topics inside of 10-minute videos, but little by little, piecemeal, if you wind up watching any of my content in its entirety, I do want to be completely honest about an aspect of our experience here that allows us to not only have the oneness experience, but to be able to be that in the world. Because at the end of the day, you cannot experience oneness and go out and be a dualistic entity in a dualistic world. The experience itself is so incredibly powerful. The experience of oneness is so incredibly healing towards remembering us to the energy from whence we come, the energy to which we're all going back, and the energy that ultimately is us the entire time we're here, despite what we see with our two eyes. And I'm talking about source energy. I call it source. I use the word source. It is neutral in terms of my own experience with people trying to explain spirituality. I grew up in an independent, fundamental, born-again Christian household. So to be quite frank, the word God for me became tainted. The word, again, the word itself, it's a loaded word. It is a word that can pit self against self against quote unquote perceived others. For sure, it pits nations against nations. We see it on the news, in our face. It's a real thing. So I use the word source. Source is indicative to me of energy. It's neutral. It doesn't hold a paradigm that goes along with it, a dogma that goes along with it. So I love using the word source. We are source. We come from the thing that we are. But while we're here, we are still wholly and completely that thing. There is no separation in real reality. I went over it in my last video. Separation is the primal wound of our species. The idea that we are separate creates a reality where we appear separate. We are not separate. There's nothing divided in real reality. Singularity is the real reality. Duality is a tool. It's a construct that allows us to experience our oneness by being what we're not, by being dualistic, by living in a world of matter and form. There is no matter and form in real reality. Ask a quantum physicist, ask a scientist, ask a mathematician. At the end of the day, there's no matter, there's energy. So how do we remember our energetic nature? And I'm going to talk today about the work that I do. It's not an advertisement. It's not a call to action. I am sharing with you because I know that wherever you are watching this from, there are people in your locale. I presume, I certainly hope there are people in your locale who also do this work, who do this work with integrity, who do this work with an abundance of character, who are careful with whom it is they engage and the people with whom they share these traditions and these molecules. But I want to say there's a bit of a cheat code, and it's not a cheat in terms of an unfair advantage. It's something that has been built into our physical reality that allows us the possibility of leaving the rational thinking, dualistic mind. And I'm going to be very specific. I am talking about altered states of consciousness. I am talking about leaving behind the thinking, quote unquote, rational. And there's nothing rational about humanity. Look around the planet, but we like to believe that we're rational. We come up with all kinds of words to serve us while we're here, to help us feel better about what duality actually creates. And rational is one of them. We have a compulsive mind. The vast majority of people are walking around having an entire other dimensional reality between their ears in the 6-inch space. I've said it for years. It's a mantra of mine. I use it in my work, in my teachings. There's no such thing as the whole wide world. There's no such thing as a world out there. There is this 6-inch space between your ears where the whole wide world happens. It is the prism, it is the filter through which you have the experience of your world. It is the place wherein you develop and create the world of your earthly experience. There's no the world. There's no whole wide world out there. There's an internal, an inner world that is only ever a result of your thoughts, words, and deeds. That's it. We create our reality. No one is here by accident. Nothing is happening by accident. This is all exceptionally specific. And once you understand that you are the manifestor, you are the creator of your reality, you begin to create other realities. I call my life the magic carpet ride. I live in magic. My life is magical because I understand that I create the magic that is my life. But one of the ways in which I have done that is by living as a singular being. I have healed, I have reconciled the dualistic division inside of myself, which allows me to walk out into the seeming world outside of me and be a singular entity in that world. But there's a way in which I have accessed that space, because I am here to tell you that it is a very rare human, not just in 8 billion people on the planet almost, but across the time-space continuum. It is a very rare person who can have the experience of and create singularity and oneness in their world. It's a very rare person who can do that, who has not had the experience of oneness internally. And I'm going to tell you how we have that experience so that we can then become that thing and extrapolate it out into our external environment, into the outer world that we perceive as the world. There are traditions in our ancestry. There are compounds in nature that allow us to disrobe ourselves of the thinking, quote unquote, rational compulsive mind. You know, Einstein said it best. He said, we do not resolve the problems with the same mind that created the problems. We have to get out of our mind. And altered states of consciousness are integral to our ability to escape our conditioning, number one, to escape our own opinions and ideas. I say it all the time, the worst jail cell in the world is the one that we create. Most of us have constructed jail cells from our own thought processes in which we then find ourselves enslaved and incarcerated. We are in a jail cell of our own thoughts, opinions, and desires. And the entire time, it's the only jail cell in the world that humans sit in while the key to the door is in their back pocket. Not only are you the incarcerated, you are also the jailer. The key is in your pocket. You have to flip a switch. You have to change your mind. There's a reason, there's a saying, you change your life by changing your thoughts. You change your life by changing how you think. It starts here. Everything starts here. This is the seat of creation. So when you understand that, and you understand that this does not have the answer, the quote-unquote rational thinking mind really is the problem. It's not the solution. We have to get out of that mind, right? That would make sense. So the kind of work I do is I use compounds in nature with certain people, and I use traditions, namely our breath, namely oxygen. It is the top of the spirit molecule hierarchy. Most people call it plant medicine. I call it spirit molecules because I don't give my power away. The medicine is in me. I am the medicine. If I am the problem, I am the solution. If I am the break, then I am the cast. Nothing in me is diseased without there also being the cure. It would be a very unfair universe if you believe in a creator that is separate and apart from us. So there are ways in which we can alleviate ourselves of our conditioning, of our compulsive mind, of the jail cell of our thoughts, opinions, and desires. And I work with people specifically who are ready to cross that threshold. I work with people who realize they've gone as far as they can go. The mind is a great tool, but at the end of the day, it's the tool that is the wrench in the machine. Because the same mind that can give you the answer is the same mind that will talk you out of that being the answer. So we have to get out of that mind. And there are compounds in nature, fungi kingdom, plant kingdom, animal kingdom. But at the end of the day, my favorite spirit molecule is oxygen, because with specific styles of breathing, and I am certified in psychedelic breathwork and altered states facilitation, we can use our breath to access our whatness, the oneness, the interconnectedness of all things. And until we have that experience of oneness, we don't really understand how to go be the oneness in the world. So everything I've shared up until this point about being the light and love is the answer, it does have an asterisk. There's a slight caveat, and that is, for the vast majority of us human beings, we have to have the experience of oneness. You can read a million books about riding a horse. You can talk to people who ride horses. But until you're sitting on the back of a 2,000-pound, 8-foot beast, you don't know shit about riding a horse. No offense. Riding the horse teaches you how to ride the horse. And the same is true for oneness. You can read about it. You can talk to a guru. You can watch a bunch of YouTube videos or TikToks. But until you've experienced oneness, until everything that you thought you were melts away and you stand naked in front of the YO universe that is not only out there, it is in here. We are a macrocosm. We are a microcosm of the macrocosm. There is nothing out there that is not in here. There's nothing in here that is not out there. As above, so below. As within, so without. We are the YO universe. And until you have that experience, it's almost impossible to be that in your life. And then to be that with the quote-unquote others that we perceive walking around. There are no others. I say it all the time. There are mirrors, for sure. Hello, little bee. Yeah. There's a cheat code built into nature, because nature knew that as far as we can get with our human mind, there's a threshold we do not cross until we set that mind down and say, here am I, send me. And we release and relieve ourselves of our humanity for a brief spell in order to understand our divinity. When I ran my soap shop, I had a guy walk in one day, and I called the door the portal. There was people came in for soap, and they walked out with so much that had nothing to do with soap. There was a man that walked into my soap shop one day, and he said, he had a t-shirt on, and it said, I lost my mind to find my soul. Truer words have never been spoken. I help people lose their mind so that they can find their soul. I have lost my mind, but I know what I am. I live in that whatness. My who is an avatar. My who is a ride inside of the chaos carnival that is planet Earth. Stephanie is fun. She's a hot mess sometimes, but she knows what she is. She knows exactly what she is, and she lives that way and allows herself to be what she is before any of the who sets foot inside here. And we can live that way. And that's how we bring the light. That's how we love our enemy. There's no enemy. There's no other. The Tao Te Ching says, the perception of an enemy is the worst thing that can happen to a human being, because your enemy is actually a shadow you yourself cast. So when we understand that we're only ever looking back at ourselves, we're free. That jail cell door just got kicked wide open. That key fit and spun perfectly. I've been doing this work for 8 years. I've been helping people cross that threshold for almost a decade. We need the plants. We need the animals. Hello, bird. Beautiful mockingbird just flew right into the tree in front of me. Yeah, we need the plants, the animals, and the fungi right now. We need to remember that we are a temple and that our breath has so much power to alleviate us of the burden of self, the burden of the illusion of separation, of the illusion of duality. You can do that with your breath. Find a holotropic breath worker in your neighborhood. Visit my website, twhic.com. If you're in the Florida area or southeast portion of the country, there's lots of information there for sure. So yeah, I wanted to share that today, because if I'm going to talk about singularity and I'm going to talk about oneness, I have to talk about how we actually have the experience of that. So that's the video for today. As always, you are so seen, you are so loved. Aho.